Lovely to be with you today. Another month has flown by. And this month we're going to be chatting about watercolour with pen. So that's nice. So I'm with you for the next hour or so. Till about 6:15. I've got to get ready for tonight's gouache class. So it's going to be a nice little chat and paint session, and hopefully you may learn a few different things as well. So where are you watching from today? It's about 5:15 here in the UK, and I'm in North Oxfordshire in Banbury, in my little classroom above my little art shop. So how are you? How was your weekend? Was it all right? Just having a slurp of tea. I've just realised I'm drinking my tea right by the microphone on the camera of the phone, so I apologise. So today's demo, this month's demo, is watercolour with pen. And it really does make a beautiful combination. Technically mixed media. A long time ago, when I first started teaching, mixed media wasn't a thing 30 years ago, believe it or not, not really. The nearest you could get away with is using a permanent pen with watercolour. That's how daring the art world was in the mainstream world back in the 90s. But today we are going to relive that because it is really useful. The paper I'm using is 300 GSM knot surface, or cold pressed, called knot because it's not rough and it's not smooth, and you can probably see a little bit of the texture as the light. So welcome and thank you for joining me. We are going to do the whole painting today, hopefully, in the next hour. So it's not going to be perfect, but hopefully you'll learn a lot. I've sketched out my boat in my sort of harbour area, not very neatly, and I've not put a lot of detail on. And the reason why I haven't put a lot of detail on is because we're going to put the pen on first. Now, there's nothing wrong with spending hours drawing it out. However, I know I'm going to put the pen on where I can put more detail in. So I just need to know roughly where things are. And so it's 300 GSM cold pressed paper, and I'm working with a Unipin 0.5 permanent pen. How do I know? Because it says water and fade proof pigment ink. If it doesn't say any of those, then it isn't any of those, and it's probably water soluble, which you can put on after you've painted, but not before with watercolour, because it will just run everywhere and turn all your lovely colours grey, which is no good. This is actually a boat in my favourite harbour in the world, which is in Barmouth in North Wales. In fact, I am there this weekend teaching an en plein air painting weekend along the harbour and the mountains there. So I'm really looking forward to that. So when you're working with pen in this way, you've got the option of, you can cover the pen over everything. You can just draw it all. Or you can keep the pen focusing on the element that you want to focus on, the focal point. I will just say this is the black Unipin 0.5 liner, but they do a lovely one in a dark grey, which is more subtle. So if you think, oh, I don't know if I could do the black pen because it's a bit harsh for my style, you can do it in a dark grey, which is much more subtle. So I'm going to start inking things slowly but surely. I should have a ruler with me for the mast. Should I, or should I wing it? I have got a ruler knocking about. I ought to be good. Okay, let's Let's do it. I hate rulers. But in the sense of the demo, I'll be good. I can't actually see what I'm doing. You should see my setup because I'm streaming live on YouTube and TikTok today. So I've got two cameras set up right in front of my face, and as a result, I'm having to lean to the left in order to see what I'm doing. So we're inking everything out first. Nice and soft and subtle. Although it's black ink, so it's not that subtle. But this will save and create some really interesting things. Because I'm only interested in inking out the boat. Charlie, I have no idea what that means because I'm not very boaty. I like the look of them and I like painting them, but I don't really know what they are. This boat's always moored at Barmouth Harbour. Looks like a westerly. I will take your word for it. It's lovely. It's a beautiful boat. So you'll know if I get all a bit drunk because I can't see. Double finned. Ah, yes, it is double finned. Yes. There's quite a few of those in Barmouth, actually, now you say that. Unless I've just drawn the same one from different angles for the last 14 years, which is highly possible. I've learned something myself today, so thank you for that. So I'm here for an hour or so. I can't spend any longer, and that's purely for the fact that I've got to get ready for a class this evening. Do you know what? That makes sense. They balance it out because it can. We were. I was teaching on plein air weekend at the harbour in March, and the tide was going out, and one person was sketching the boat that wasn't double finned, and all of a sudden, phew, it tilted on its side. So her whole composition and the drawing was incorrect because we didn't allow for the tide going out, and the fact that it was just single finned. So that's a west. Oh, so all westerlies are double finned, are they? That's fascinating. That. Thank you for sharing. Because I can sound like I know what I'm talking about now. Yeah, well, within reason. So I'm heading down on Friday and teaching Saturday and Sunday all along the harbour. Barmouth, if you've not been, is a beautiful place in North Wales along the Snowdonia National Park area. It's a Victorian harbour, but you've got the estuary that runs alongside, and the famous railway bridge that stretches from Barmouth to Fairbourne and Arthog on the other side. And so you've got the Malvac estuary going up and Cadair Idris mountain beyond that way. And if we go to the left behind us, if you like, there is Harlech, and then further up Port Merion and Port Maddock. And even further up you've got Llandudno. So there's quite a lot going on, and it's just a beautiful place. It feels more like home to me than anywhere I've ever lived. And I've never lived here permanently, but maybe one day. Maybe one day. So when you're working with pen, you've got the option to put as much detail or as little detail as possible. And that really is up to you. So I've got a gouache class tonight, which will be nice and fun. We're painting a pheasant. Which I'm looking forward to already. So if you just joined, this is 300 GSM cold pressed watercolour paper. Welcome, by the way, sorry to be rude. And I'm working with a Unipin 0.5 black permanent liner pen. Oh no, there is that? It looks like chain here, so it's kind of buried in the sand a little. This is rope. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, but I may not be able to read it straight away, and if I ignore you, I'm not being rude. It's just because my head's in a different position, so keep asking. Please do. Because I'm here to help expand your knowledge, maybe inspire you and show you different ways of doing things. If you watch our channel, I post a video nearly every day of about 1.5 minutes long, usually with some form of art help or advice on different media. If you're not following our channel, please do give us a follow. That will be really lovely. On TikTok, we just hit 10,000 followers last week, which is really lovely. And so thank you for following. We are a very small art shop, so we sell art supplies. So for this is a small chain, so can you see what I'm doing here? I'm doing like a little loop and then a line, and then as it comes down I might change up a little bit. It's gone very, very dark here, and I've just heard a little bit of thunder, despite thinking it wasn't going to rain today. We need the rain though. All the canals in the UK are dried up. And Banbury has a canal weekend, a canal festival at the end of this month, so we really need the water levels to get back to a normal standard, so all the boats can come. So I'm not going to do huge amounts, but you can see as I'm building this up, I'm probably not going to do much in the way, I'm not going to ink the background because I want that to stay far away. However, there's like part of the harbour wall and some steps here which I might do, and it's a good opportunity for me to show you the grey pen which will feel like it's further back. But before I do that, I'm going to have to attack the rigging. So I may get the rigging wrong. So if you're into boats, I am so sorry. But I've got a reference over my shoulder, and I've got two phones in front of my face, so I can't really see what I'm doing. That kind of something that goes from there to there. So I'm doing all this with the pen now. And what's great about liner pens, and you might think that, you know, you're kind of stuck really with the fact that it's just a solid black line, and yes, it is. However, if you vary your pressure and your speed, it kind of gives you thick and thin lines, so it makes it much easier to work with. And then we've got some bigger ones now coming from the top down. Oh. I'm also at a slight slope here. Oh, I've missed off a bit of the mast actually. That does need to be there. So I'm adding the rigging now because it will make life easier in the long run, I think. And it always makes boats look more exciting, I think. Just wish I was sort of more knowledgeable. So I'm trying to look at the reference. I think that might be enough rigging, maybe. Oh, there should be some more up here. That'll do, I think. Now, so that is the pen work, the black pen work that I've done. Make that look a bit more like that chain. But as I say, I'll show you. This is they do 3 in 0.5, 0.1 and brush. They do the dark grey, a light grey that's very pale, and a sort of sepia, a nutty brown. And they're really lovely. So this grey, I'm just going to do the harbour wall. Because at least then you can see what the pens do. So with this being grey, it's much less in your face than the black. So it allows me to fountain there, but I shouldn't really put that in, but I know it's there. That's the danger, isn't it? And it's somewhere you go to a lot. There's a cafe here, actually, just on the edge. A cafe bar. So, I could put another boat in here. Oh, I've just headbutted the camera, I do apologise. Oh dear, I am a professional, I promise. It needs to have 3 boats, really. Put one in the distance there. So, that means I've got subtle... I know. Do you know what? I should be using hot pressed, but I couldn't find any quick enough today. So I'm using cold pressed, which is really quite dimply. I should be on smoother paper for pen work, because hot pressed paper works beautifully with pen. But it's a payoff because I like the texture of the paper for the paint. But I have been painting for a long time, but I am at an angle as well. So this is upright. It's not flat. Well, it's a slight slope. What, 45-degree slope, something like that. I've got the board today. But if you like the texture of cold pressed paper, or even, I wouldn't go as far as rough if you're doing pen work, because that is really hard, because the surface is so much more textured. Work with the cold pressed with the pen and see how you get on. It does take a bit. You might, if you could see closer, you'd see that the rigging is sort of hit and miss in places. But to be honest, yeah, I know, Luna, the textured paper is really lovely. So I was really hoping that I wouldn't mess it up at this point. Now, I'm still seeing little bits that I need to add just to make it more interesting. I'm sure there should be something coming off there. Or maybe just at the top. Now, the thing is, once you've penned in, you can sort of rub out your lines. And I can't rub out my background mountain lines because I need those. But I can erase a little bit of this here. But you do have to wait for the pen to dry. And it depends on the paper as to how long that takes. And keep that little bit of design. Just using an old putty eraser. I think I might have lost my mountains in the background. Let me just grab a pencil. A good old 2B. I've got rid of the most important bit of the mountain. That needs to be a straight line there. So you can work through with it, you can play with it, but once you put the pen, that's it. You can't get rid. So having some drawing first makes a big difference. But this is 300 DSM cold pressed paper. Morning from Cheyenne. Hello, Ramon, how are you? It's early evening here. It's 20 to 6 in the evening. I'm drawing from an image. It's a photo I took of Barmouth Beach in North Wales. I took it a couple of years ago, but I hadn't got room for that on the paper, so you could also see on the screen, and I didn't think it that important. But if I just show you the photograph I took, so that's what I'm working from. But it may not look that much like it at the end. It's going to be my version of this. So no, it is a reference image because of it being a specific place and a specific boat. I'm not making this up. Some of my demos I do kind of make up, or I blend several different references together. But as this is my favourite area, I do have to do it justice. I can show you another example of it's Barmouth again. I did a free demo on Facebook and Instagram last week, doing the same subject matter. So a pen, permanent pen and watercolour, and that was the result of my demo for that one. So again, you can see the pen just on the boat and the ropes and the flotation. That's a lovely old rusty boat. It's been there for a long time. It does actually float, but it's falling apart slowly but surely. Every year I see it. So that's kind of what we're aiming for, but a different boat. Same beach, same harbour. So hopefully you're enjoying this so far and you're learning things while we chat, which is lovely. I always love having company when I do these demos, so thank you for joining me. How are you, Ramona, anyway? What's going on in your world? Do I prefer watercolour or acrylics? Well, that really does depend. Good question. I love them all. I actually prefer gouache. I'm more of a gouache lover. But I've been working in watercolours for a long time. About 30 years, and I used to be Dale Arowney's System 3 demonstrator for the entire UK for acrylics. So when you're being paid to promote a product, you do love them more because you get your freebies and you get wages at the end. So I like acrylics, I like watercolour, I like oil, water mixable oil I absolutely love. But for me on my own, I like gouache. I can show you one that I've not long finished, but this isn't a commission. I don't think it'll fit on the screen because it's A3. This is just my own sort of style of painting. It's going to reflect because it's in a... There we go. Give you a rough idea. It's got a thing on it, but that's gouache on black watercolour paper. I did do 2 other forest scenes like this. I did a bluebell wood at sunset and a Holloway, but they both sold within an hour of me posting it on social media. So this is the only one left at the moment. But I do like gouache. I find it the best of both worlds between acrylic and watercolour. And working in the shop, it gives me more versatility because sometimes I can be up here in the classroom and I get customers, so I've got to nip up and down. So if I was doing something wet in wet, it could ruin. So working in gouache is really nice because you can constantly reconstitute it. Right, so I've got my inky bits sorted. Now for a bit of watercoloriness. I am on a slope, so that's going to give me a little bit more of a problem because all of the water is going to run downwards, and this is where you hope to goodness you've read the ink properly and found that it's waterproof, not water soluble, because this is where I'd lose my mast. I might use a bit of gouache just to bring the mast out a little bit more, because I'm probably going to go over it with the sky. So I need the paper to be wet so I can do some nice sky work. Too wet though, and it's just going to run all down my page because I'm on a slope. For my paints, I'm using the just a basic tin of Rosa watercolour, the Ukrainian watercolour. And I'm going to do a little mix of ultramarine and cerulean for the sky. It's going to be quite big. So I'm using a pointed wash brush. This is a number 2, but if you've seen my videos before, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of mentioning brush sizes because they are absolutely worthless and they're not the same anywhere in the world. So from brand to brand, brush sizes vary. Even within brands, brush sizes vary because different brushes do different things. So for example, that's a number 2, that's a number 4. Oh, that's not a number 4. That's a number 4 because it's a different type of brush, but both by the same brand. So it's very confusing, especially when you're learning. It can be very confusing. I'm going to go with a slightly purplish tinge to that, so I might go with a little bit of crimson in my blue. Keep it a little bit bluer though. Some clouds down here. And if I want to lift out any extra clouds or something, I can just clean my brush, squeeze it off a little bit, and lift out. So everything's sort of running downwards because I'm on a slope. Well, I'm not, my paper is. Hopefully I'm not. Put a bit more blue down here. Basically, if you want big skies, you want bigger clouds at the top, narrower clouds at the bottom. And that gives you a nice feeling of depth in a landscape. So you can see so far the pen is not running, thankfully. Just need to dry that off a little. Might give it a quick blast with the hairdryer just so the mountains can get done, because I've got half an hour, well, I've got about half an hour with you now. I'll do the majority of the work with that one large brush because it's got a good point on it and it works really well. Oh, do I stretch the paper? No. Bacon Egg USA, I've never stretched a sheet of watercolour paper in my life. Life is far too short. There is no point. The reason why I don't stretch paper is I use the appropriate weight to how much water I'm going to be working with. So in that sense, I use 300 GSM, so I know how much water I can use with that. If I was going to go really wet in wet, I might use 425 or 550 or even 600 GSM or a watercolour board. But modern watercolour paper doesn't need to be stretched. If you buy a block of watercolour paper, it's the same paper that's in loose sheets or in gummed pads, yet you don't stretch a block. So why do you need to stretch anything else? I find it just takes so much time, so much hassle, and it still cockles anyway, even if you put... So basically, use the amount of... the right weight of paper for the amount of water that you're going to add, and you'll find it much easier. I don't generally go below 300 GSM, because I know I can do quite a lot with that. Right, if I add a bit more crimson to my purple that I've got on there, I can put my mountains in a little bit now and go around. Just notice I put glasses on today so I can see, and I'm squinting and looking over the top of them. That really defeats the object. If I go a little bit bluer, there's a hint of more mountain there. These mountain ranges are just stunning. I honestly, if you ever have the chance to visit North Wales, you definitely need to see Barmouth. It's a stunning place. But don't live there, because I want to, and I don't want you to steal my house that I want to move into. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a bit more ultramarine onto my tile and a little bit of lemon yellow. Oh, that's too much lemon yellow. A little bit of purple on there, just so we've got some green background. I will do stuff to this. Don't forget that that boat is inked in. Trying so hard to leave my whites. It's very tricky from this kind of an angle, but I will do what I can with the best of my ability. That's actually a fountain of dolphins. I add a bit more blue and a little bit of purple. That'll give me a slightly more browner mix. What got me into art? I have been doing art forever. Oh goodness me, I'm 46 and I've been painting and drawing since I could hold a pencil. Here in the UK, there was a wonderful art programme in the 80s and 90s with a really lovely artist called Tony Hart. And he made art so accessible. He was so friendly and nice, and he didn't mess about. He was highly skilled, and he was really encouraging. I also had an amazing art teacher, even at primary school. We were very lucky to have somebody who was really good and inspirational. And my mom was also very arty. And then when I started painting and doing things for family, friends and all of that kind of thing, and then when I was 13, 14, I started working in oils, and I started getting commissions. The deputy head of my high school commissioned me for several paintings for her house, and then I had my first exhibition when I was 14. And then of my own in a big gallery, and then I had another exhibition when I was 17, and that sold out. And then I was asked by Dale Rowney if I would be their demonstrator, their product demonstrator for System 3 paint, which I did for quite a while. And then I started teaching art as well. When I was 17, I began teaching art classes in acrylics and drawing. We had, the place where I worked already had some wonderful watercolour tutors, so I did the acrylics and drawing. So I've been doing it all my life, but my calling is teaching. I just want people to learn, who love art, to be able to understand how it works, and make it as accessible as possible. So yeah, I've been painting all my life. Painting and drawing, doodling, writing, all that kind of thing. My mum was extremely creative, and I'm the youngest of three, and my brother and sister are like 8 and 10 years older than me. So it was often just me and my mum when I was little. So we used to write stories and I'd illustrate them, or we'd draw together and craft together, and she taught me how to sew and how to bake, and it was really, really lovely. So I owe a lot to my mum. So I've actually, so yeah, I've been teaching since I was 17, so 29 years this year. Oh, well, actually in December I'll be 47, I think. I think that's right. So yeah, I'll be teaching for 30 years this coming year. So for my C, I'm going to mix some cerulean blue and a little bit of yellow ochre, tiny bit of yellow ochre, and that will give me a beautiful teal turquoise sea green. And I can put all that. No, that's okay. I should put a little bit of land underneath there. Maybe I'll go a little bit more watery, so I'll add more water on my brush, make this a bit paler to start with. How long have I got? 20 minutes. We can do that, can't we? We can do anything. So this boat is in the water. Need to make that a little bit darker, so I'll go with a little bit more cerulean, tiny bit of ultramarine. I think the tide was coming in at this point. It's hard to remember because I visit this place so often. So I set up this shop 15 years ago this year, and we teach adults. I teach about 30 art classes a month, as well as doing all the social media and stuff, and Jackie works with me part-time on the shop floor. So I'm still doing art all the time. I don't have the time to go out and do demonstrations for groups and things like I used to, because I'm a singer as well, so I have a lot of time where I'm travelling up and down the country singing. So if I'm not doing painting, I'm doing one thing or the other. Soften that a little bit. I should have put a little bit of beach in that background, so I might put a little bit of yellow ochre on my brush and just put a little bit of line right at the back, because that's the other side of the estuary over there. That's Fairbourne. Ah, a keen artist. Well, start at that age. If you can find art classes where you are, or do just watch tutorials online, and they will really, really help improve just your eye. I've posted it today or yesterday. I'm doing a sketch a day challenge where I've got 30 days listed of prompts that you can try. We have got a Facebook group that you can join and share what you've been drawing. It's been quite popular so far, which is really lovely. So that's yellow ochre and burnt sienna, but I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine in there. I keep my palette very, very simple. I tend to have about 8 or 9 colours, because I know from that I can mix about 3,000. So by limiting your palette, you get far more harmony in your art, and everything's related, you see. So because it's all related, everything looks better. Whereas if you shove some random colour in, it gets a little bit confusing and it jars. You know, sometimes you'll put something in and you go, no. That'll be why. Let's put some beach in. So yellow ochre and burnt sienna and a little bit of crimson, why not? Ooh, do you know what? Let me just rub out that line. Because a lot of time with watercolour, once the paint's on, you've lost that ability and chance to rub out and erase what's there. But you can see it's coming on, and you can see that permanent pen really living up to its name. And so far I've only used this brush. And the pen, of course. To get a bit more depth in your land, because I know we've got layers, but this is quite a big area here, isn't it? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a bit more brown at the front. And it's not like this in the reference at all, which is why I said it's going to change slightly. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow and then blend that in. And what will happen is that the sort of yellower tones recede and the browny tones come forward. Yellow isn't a cool colour, but it's not as warm as brown and crimson. So that really, can you see how that's brought that forward a little bit? Hopefully you're enjoying this. I'm here for another 15 minutes anyway. I do these roughly once a month. On TikTok and YouTube. It's the second Monday of the month. The next one will be the 13th of October, and I'm going to be doing colour mixing. Now, I'm going to stress, because I've been teaching for a long time, I was trained in colour theory by the School of Colour, which looks at the science of how paint and our eyes work together. So it's not totally counterintuitive to traditional colour theory and the colour wheel, but it expands on that. It's more scientific, and it does mean that it enables you to use a limited palette, and you can mix the colour that you want every single time, because you're just mixing two colours together. So we'll have an hour of colour mixing. I will not be using the CMYK method. I don't do that at all, because I'm not a photocopier or a printer. I am a human, and my eyes work in a different way. So I'll be using my method of colour theory. And I have to say it like that because everybody's got their own version, haven't they? I see videos all the time where people are using different ways of mixing colour. 13th, yeah, Monday the 13th of October, around 5:15 UK time, I'll be live on Instagram, no, here on TikTok and on YouTube as well. Just adding a little bit of purple, just to add some texture in here. And then I can work on my boats. So I want a shadow colour, so I'm going to go with crimson, ultramarine, and a little bit of yellow ochre, and that will give me a sort of dull grey purple colour, and that will be perfect to mark. I'm trying to work out where the shadow is in this. It's on this side. Needs to be paler than that. But I've taught colour mixing for a long time, and several years ago I was teaching a full day course, and a lady that had been painting for about 50 years joined the class, and at the end of the class she said to me it was like a veil had been lifted from her eyes. I'll never forget that. She said, I've always struggled with colour, and this way I know where I'm going wrong, why I'm going wrong, and how I can improve. And that was just music to my ears, because as a teacher, that's what you want to hear. But as I say, I'm not saying it's the only way. There are lots of ways, and when you're learning, it's up to you to find a way that works best for you. And I say this to my students all the time. I try to teach as many different techniques and styles and skills as I can, but they may not work for you. You need to find your own way, and that will mean trying loads of different things to see what works best for you. Because what works best for me doesn't mean it'll be the same. What would you say your favourite thing to paint is? Do you know what? I love trees, mossy forests and trees, light through trees, and maybe a bit of fungi. Or mountains. I like all those things. But as an artist myself, the majority of my commissions are pet portraits. Lise, you just stumbled across my live and you definitely struggle with colours. Yeah, you'll find the next session that I'm doing much more helpful, I think, because it is directly related to colour mixing. I'm just going to do a cerulean blue rope. You'll find lots of people have an opinion on colour mixing. I went to a talk many years ago with an artist. I won't name names because I'm not like that. And he said that you only need 3 colours. And his colours were ultramarine, yellow ochre and crimson. And he said with that you can make whatever you want. Now I knew that wasn't true. Oh, excellent, thank you, Lise. But what he meant was that you only needed those 3 colours to paint like him. Do you know what I mean? And that's different. And I find a lot of artists are the same. When they say you only need this brush or this paper or these colours, it's to paint like them. They're not saying, and people misunderstand, they're not saying you only need those colours and that's it. Whereas I try to give you what you can use, and the colour theory that we're going to have next month is something that all the colours are going to be in standard sets of paint. And this is ultramarine and a little bit of burnt sienna because it's a very dark blue. And it will be something that you'll be able to relate to, hopefully, straight away. Because that's what it's all about. That's what my job is, to make your life easier as artists or would-be artists or trainee artists, whatever you want to call yourselves. But do call yourselves artists, because you are. If you make art, you're an artist. Don't wait for one day when I get better, because I've been painting all my life and I'm still learning. Well, that's true. Everybody will have an opinion, but everybody is correct. I'd like to say I am correct, but do you know what? I thought I was before I trained. You know, when I first started teaching, I found that I used to use, I think my suggested primary colours, I've just got to wait for this to dry, were ultramarine, cadmium red and lemon yellow. And I'm just going to make a darker grey just from ultramarine and burnt sienna, just for inside the windows here. And sometimes my students would go, oh Barry, I haven't got that. And I'd say, oh, well, just use what you've got then. And they would have I don't know, cerulean, cadmium yellow and crimson. And no matter how much they tried, they couldn't get the colours that I were mixing. And I used to think, oh, they just couldn't do it. I just thought, well, they're no good. They can't do this, because I didn't understand colour theory in that sense. And then when I learned more about it, I understood straight away why they were getting a totally different colour. Right, now there's a white band on that boat, and I think that goes across to the fin. What time are we at? Oh gosh, I've only got 5 minutes to go. I've got to get ready for my class. I'm enjoying chatting to you too much. Do I have YouTube? We do. If you go on YouTube, and I'm live on YouTube at the same time doing this, because the problem with TikTok lives, I'm still learning TikTok. The problem with TikTok lives is that once I end my live stream, I lose the live stream. It's gone. So I tend to stream live on YouTube at the same time. And if you look up, the address is the Artery Online, all one word, all lowercase, the Artery Online, and you'll find me on there. Just making a bit of a dark reflection colour just for under here of the blue and the brown again, because the boat is in the water and it's much darker down here. Hopefully you've enjoyed being with me today. I've enjoyed your company, so thank you very much. I'm going to put some shadows on in a sec. Yeah. So yeah, it's a slightly different angle because I'm streaming from 2 different cameras, but you'll be able to see how I did that sky. But it is very quick, because I'm on a slope. I'm not flat. What else can I do? Oh, shadow colour, sort of purple colour, so ultramarine, crimson, yellow ochre. And I said the light's coming from there, isn't it? So I don't know, there might be a bit of shadow coming in from that boat there. A bit of shadow there. A lot of people walk along here with their dogs. The harbour side is sort of beach, the dog friendly. But we've got about 300 videos on our YouTube channel. Some shorts, lots of shorts, and some full length. Some are taken live from our classes. So you'll hear students chattering, and I do talk a lot. Well, you can probably gather that from today. So we talk about all sorts of things. It's not for everyone, because some people just want to get on and paint, whereas I like to chat as well, because where I'm from we talk all the time. Not sure I can do any more to this. What do you think? Do some pebbles, dot it and dab it. Happy with that? So you can see how just using the pen, and I've only used that one brush, just using that pen has made a big difference in highlighting just that one boat. The grey pen, you can see how subtle that is. Oh, thank you very much, Lise, for subscribing to YouTube. I forget, because I'm an art teacher and an art shop owner, and I'm not some sort of big shot influencer thing, I don't know what I'm doing. And I keep forgetting the whole like and subscribe, buy my products kind of thing, because I'm not like that, and I forget that I ought to, really. I just press buttons. One of my most popular YouTube videos, I mean, I'm not anything, has had, what, 740,000 views over the last 13 years. And that was done, it was Paint Like Monet in acrylics, just a 10-minute video. And I did that for my friend who's a teacher at a special educational needs school, and they were doing about Impressionism. So I did that, and that was just filmed off a very original iPhone. The colours were just marker penned on a piece of scrap paper. And that's had, like, as I say, 700 and odd thousand views. It's been used by schools all over the world. I had absolutely no idea. And teacher training colleges use it, which blows my mind. My niece was doing teacher training, and they were examining my video as aspects of teaching. I don't know, whether rubbish teaching or something, I don't know. And she said, "Oh, that's Uncle Barry's on the screen." So you never know where these things go. Right, I'm faffing. I need to stop. So there we go. In an hour, we've done this from start to finish, apart from the sketching out. Hopefully you found that useful. The permanent liner pen works so well to give you the structure first. But what you can do the other way around, you can paint loosely and then put the pen on top to bring things back together. So you've got lots of options when it comes to pen work. But this was pen first, permanent pen. And then you can see how we get on here. So as I say, for you on TikTok and YouTube, I'll be back on the 13th of October and at 5:15 UK time, looking at colour mixing, my way of colour mixing. So I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful week. Get your paints out. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. What type of ink pen? Quickly, I will show you. It is the Unipin 0.5 waterproof, fade-proof pigment ink pen. They do lots of sizes, but the 0.5 is quite handy for something like this. All right, take care. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.